less than 2 weeks, the Twins will open up the regular season. They're still in Fort Myers, Florida. A week and a half. Some important Grapefruit League games coming up as the Twins get ready for the start of their 56th season of Major League Baseball. Today, from Fort Myers, it's the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Minnesota Twins. And we welcome you to Fort Myers. Dick Bramer along with Bert Blyleven, our first telecast of the year. And the Twins are hoping for better things in 2016 and hoping for a more complete season from their all-star second baseman, Brian Dozier.
Yeah, Brian Dozier having quite a spring training so far. He's hit some balls out of the ballpark. He is out at second base here this afternoon. And this guy wants to win a series. He wants to go to the World Series. That's Brian Dozier's goal this year.
And again this year, Brian Dozier will be playing, it looks like, with a different starting shortstop on opening day. A familiar face, Eduardo Escobar. Looks like he's going to be the starting guy at shortstop this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, our Eduardo Escobar over the last couple of years, he's wanted to be that starting shortstop. Well, it happened last year. Playing every day so far here in spring training, he is the #1 shortstop, a guy that loves to play the game and very, very good for the clubhouse.
It's been a good spring training for the Twins. It's been a healthy spring training, and we're anxious to get our telecast started here this afternoon against the Baltimore Orioles. Part the weather here in Southwest Florida has been outstanding to get baseball done, or anything else done for that matter. There was a rain out on Saturday. Today, not a cloud in the sky. Temperatures will climb into the upper 70s, as is typically the case here in Fort Myers. A breezy day. Yesterday, the wind was blowing in very hard from left field, and today it's blowing in from right field.
Yeah, which brought in a little bit of a cold front this morning. Very, very cold in the 40s, which is bad here. But now with the wind blowing out a little bit to left field, that means the warm weather's coming. That's my weather forecast for today.
Cold front that only got into the 60s.
Yes.
Yeah, right. You've been away from Minnesota way too long.
Looking forward to getting back.
The Baltimore lineup, and they have had the opposite type of spring so far than the Twins have had. They've had some injury issues, and after a day off yesterday, Joey Rickard is going to be their leadoff man. Manny Machado, Adam Jones, Mark Trumbo, J.J. Hardy, Jonathan Scope, Nolan Reimold, Dariel Alvarez, and Caleb Joseph, the starting 9 for Buck Showalter and the Orioles.
Yeah, the middle part of that lineup, the guys that the Twins will see, the Jones, the Trumbo, the Hardy, the Scope, in Baltimore on opening day. But we'll face them here this afternoon. It'll be Logan Darnell. Darnell making just his 4th appearance this spring. It was Phil Hughes who is already, it's a split squad game today. Phil Hughes, of course, Neil Allen, the pitching coach, Paul Molitor, the manager, did not want Phil Hughes to face the Baltimore Orioles because he'll be one of those 3 starters in that series in Baltimore.
The other squad playing up in Clearwater against the Phillies this afternoon. Phil Hughes will start that game. And Logan Darnell, of course, has worked his way through the minor league system for the Twins. Was up with the Twins at the end last year. Couldn't pitch, however. He had a terrible flu bug. He lost about, well, nearly 20 pounds.
Yeah,
it was
diagnosed it with as a pneumonia.
Yep. Serious health issue last year. He's been healthy this year, and that has been the theme so far. Burt down here. There's some minor issues, at least the Twins hope they're minor health-wise, but this has been a very good camp so far.
Always a key once you start winding down toward the season is keep your main guys healthy, and so far so good. Knock on wood.
So Joey Rickard will lead things off for the Orioles against Logan Darnell.
You know, one thing the Orioles don't have a lot of speed of, and in the Rule 5 draft, they ended up picking up Rickard from the Rays organization. He spent 4 years in the Rays organization, stole 73 bases in the minor leagues, has yet to be with the big league club, either the Rays, and looking forward to maybe this will be his first year in the big leagues.
And a Rule 5 guy a few years ago, Ryan Flaherty, who's been a pretty valuable guy for them over the last couple of years. And this is an Oriole team that is, although they had to go some to get to the 500 mark last year, they haven't had a losing season now in 4 years. Here's a liner caught handily by Plouffe, one away, one down, and that'll bring up Manny Machado.
Yeah, Trevor Plouffe playing third base, very steady at third. And a little bit about Darnell. Logan Darnell, not an overpowering pitcher. He has to hit his spots.
Take a look at the Twins out in the field. Carlos Quentin is in left, Oswaldo Arce in right. There was a change. Max Kepler was supposed to start in center field, but before the game he came down with some migraine type symptoms. So Darren Mastroianni's in center. Plouffe, Escobar, Dozier, Mauer, the likely starting infield, and John Ryan Murphy, the new catcher for the Twins, brought over from the Yankee organization.
Darnell, 27 years old, signed by the Twins back in 2010 out of the University of Kentucky. We talked about last year getting a September call-up, but then unable to pitch. Well, in 2014, he had 3 stints with the Twins. Ended up starting 4 ball games, 7 appearances overall.
Tap foul in an organization that does not have a wealth of left-handed pitching at the major league level and in the upper levels of the minor leagues. Darnell is, and I mean this is the ultimate compliment, he's kind of a survivor. You know, he's in an organization that needs left-handed pitching, and while taken off the 40-man roster, he's found himself in a position here to get another look in spring training, and he gets a strikeout of the dangerous Manny Machado.
Yeah, good hard breaking ball right there underneath that swing of Machado. Take a look this here. J.R. Murphy, John Ryan Murphy, holding on to that ball for the second out.
2 down. That'll bring up Adam Jones. Mentioned the Orioles have not had the kind of spring that the Twins have enjoyed. Orioles haven't played well. They haven't pitched well. They were winless in their first 12 Grapefruit League games this year. And yet they figure to have a very potent lineup. Chris Davis is not here. Pedro Alvarez is not here. But still, as you said, guys like Jones that have hit 30 or more home runs figure to lead the Orioles to a lot of high-scoring games.
And this is one guy right here that could create a lot of power. Last year, 27 home runs for Adam Jones. He drove in 82. This will be his 9th season with the Orioles. 5-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove winner out in center field.
2 strikes from Darnell to Jones. Just missed the inside corner.
Brian O'Nora, the home plate umpire. Almost looked like he put that right hand up, but a little bit inside.
And now in the dirt, a check swing. I remember last year, Orioles came here and Jones 3 times in one game taking a swing, and his follow through with his bat conked Josemiel Pinto in the head, the catcher, the Twins catcher. And Pinto had kind of a lost season last year, and it started early with what turned out to be concussions from being clobbered by Jones's bat 3 times in one game. Pinto now with the Milwaukee Brewers. He's bounced around a little bit.
The Twins had good success against the Orioles last year in 7 games. Twins won all of them.
High fly down the left field line. And Carlos Quentin getting a start in the outfield. Lost it in the sun, but he found it right before it hit him in the head. 3 up, 3 down. A good inning for Logan Darnell. as the Orioles go down in order.
I'm glad he caught it.
Most of the games sold out. There's some empty seats around here today, but this is really the most important part of spring training. As much as the players are looking forward to wrapping things up, getting the season started, as you look at the Twins batting order: Dozier, MASTROIANNI in for Kepler, Mauer, Plouffe, Quentin, Arcia, Escobar, J.R. Murphy, and the designated hitter Ryan Sweeney. You know, there's still, for both teams, jobs to be won, and these games will help the decision makers make their decisions.
Well, and here's the cover. Twins are going to face a right-hander here this afternoon, Mike Wright, that is looking for one of those starting roles for the Orioles.
See his numbers from a year ago, both a starter and a reliever last year. And the Orioles, as potent as their lineup is, would love it if Kevin Gausman's shoulder's okay. He had a cortisone shot the other day. Dylan Bundy can figure things out, or somebody like Wright can step up and pitch well, because the Orioles are considered to be very pitching thin right now. Dozier with a tapper to short, and he's retired.
Yeah, Wright just 25 years old. Last year, 3 stints with the Orioles. Ended up making 9 starts and 12 appearances.
Take a look at the Orioles out in the field, with Rickard in left, the Gold Glove winner Jones in center, Dariel Alvarez in right, Machado, Hardy very good on the left side of the infield, Scope at second. Trumbo will very likely see more time in the outfield, but he gets first base today. And then we mentioned the Orioles have not had the type of spring training that the Twins have had in terms of health. Some concern about Matt Wieters, who injured his elbow in a game down here against the Twins a couple weeks ago. He hasn't played since, but the plan today was for Wieters to get some at-bats on the minor league side, and the Orioles are hopeful, not confident, I don't suppose, but hopeful that he'll be ready to go by opening day.
Wieters had that Tommy John surgery a couple years ago, and last year played in only 75 ball games. They would like to keep him healthy.
1-2 to Minnesota resident Darren Mastroianni. Married a little over a year ago. And his wife is from the Twin Cities area. Talked with Darren yesterday and spent the winter in Minnesota. Experienced ice fishing. Said he didn't catch anything, but he enjoyed it. Take a look at this pitch getting back to the backstop. Past Joseph.
Yeah, Darren always a utility type outfielder. You know, he played with the Blue Jays a couple times. That's where he ended in 2014, last year in the minor leagues.
Hard up the middle and through for a hit. Hit of the ball game goes to Mastroianni, who's been swinging it pretty good down here. And, you know, the Twins figure to have a new outfield this year. Very likely, I think, Byron Buxton will be in center and flanked by Rosario and Sano, but you always need a good backup.
Yeah, Mastroianni came in as a non-roster player trying to make that squad for the Twins. Gets a base hit, and the speedy Darren at first base.
And Mastroianni would fulfill a nice bench role as he did earlier with the Twins as a pinch runner, very fleet of foot. Got a big lead at first. And here is Joe Mauer. Dive back, and Mastroianni is safe. Talked with Joe today, and he says everything is so much better than it was a year ago. He feels better physically, felt better physically in the offseason, was able to do more to prepare him for spring training. And so far, so good. He's had a good spring. Just says generally he feels across the board much better than he did a year ago. Down and in, ball one.
Yeah, I read an article where Joe was talking about his eyesight, that he was having a tough time picking up the ball at times. And when you're talking about a guy, you know, that's a 6-time All-Star, 3-time batting champ, if they cannot pick up that ball right away, I think we've seen it over the last couple of years. He's not the hitter that he was, say, 3 years ago. MVP for the Twins in 2009, of course.
Strike on the outside corner.
I always found that, you know, pitching to guys like Joe Mauer, they picked up that ball. Guys like Rod Carew, Tony Oliva, as soon as you let that ball go. And that's the eyesight, so important for a great hitter like a Boggs or anybody like that. A Wade Boggs.
1-1 to Mauer.
Joseph sitting inside.
Talked with Joe Mauer today about that, and of course a lot's been made out of the fact that down here day games wearing sunglasses, but he's not the first hitter to have done that. He said much more impactful in the way he's seeing the ball better. They're doing something new down here, and Joe's not the only one. They've got a batting drill with balls with strobe lights in them.
Kansas City used to do that many years ago, the Royals.
Oh, is that
in their
right?
academy, yes.
1-2 to Mauer. And just missing the inside corner. Anyway, Joe says it's a hitting drill, and it forces you to focus on the ball, the rotation of the ball. And he says that, certainly more than the sunglasses, have helped him see the ball better and feels he's stronger than he has been the last couple of spring trainings. 2-2 with Mastroianni at first. He stays put, and the ball lifted to left. And retreating is Rickard back to the warning track, and that ball's gone.
Yes.
Mauer lifting it over the wall and left for a 2-run home
That's
run.
funny game. Yesterday, that would have been a fly ball to shortstop with the wind blowing in. But here, he got it up in that jet stream, and the ball kept drifting on Rickard, and he just ran out of room. So a big 2-run home run for Joe Mauer.
And maybe within that swing, evidence that Joe is a little bit stronger. The wind is blowing toward the left field corner, but of course that was Joe's strength when he won the MVP, being powerful enough to hit opposite field home runs. 28
home runs in 2009, and I bet you 27 of them were just like that at the Metrodome. So Twins take an early 2-0 lead.
You can see it's not a favorable wind. If anything, the wind pushing a fly ball like that toward the corner, but not out so much. So a good start for the Twins, a 2-0 lead, and here's Trevor Plouffe. Off the outside corner, 1-1. Orioles have given up a lot of home runs, a lot of runs coming into this game with a team ERA here in the spring in excess of 6.
Well, they find themselves 5-12 now in spring training record-wise, but as you mentioned, they start off very poorly.
This is the 6th and final meeting between these two teams. And as you alluded to before, the Twins open up the regular season in Baltimore. Then the Orioles come back to Minnesota in early May, and then we will not see any more of the Orioles.
Yeah, opening day on April 4th, 13 days from now.
2-2 to Plouffe. And at the knees, a called third strike.
And Wright picks up his first strikeout. Good fastball. Lower part of the strike zone.
And that'll bring up Carlos Quentin.
Second appearance for Wright against the Twins. He last faced them on May 17th. Pitched 5 shutout innings against them, making his 5th A-game appearance for the Orioles.
I think there were probably a few cocked eyebrows in baseball when the Twins signed Carlos Quentin to a minor league deal, but now that he's down here, has had a chance to play. Early on, he was hitting the ball very well, not so much the last few games. But an intriguing option, because when he was healthy, he was very, very good. Now, whether he breaks camp with the club or gives them a veteran presence in Rochester first and then maybe as a bench player later in the season. He had a ball here yesterday that would have gone out had it not been for that 35-mile-an-hour wind that was blowing in from left. An aborted season last year because of ongoing knee issues, but so far so good. Most of the time when he's played down here, he's played at first base, but today getting the start in left field. Off the end of the bat, foul.
A big, strong young man. He was Arizona's #1 pick back in 2003 out of Stanford University. Came up with the Diamondbacks in 2006 and 7. Twins saw a lot of him when he was with the White Sox, where he was a 2-time All-Star for the White Sox in 2008 and 11. In the last 3+ years with the Padres.
Now down and away.
And when they're getting a guy right here, 154 major league home runs in Quentin.
And the more time he gets at first base, of course, he was an outfielder. He proving his that he can be a versatile player, and ultimately that might, either with the Twins or somebody else, get him back to the major leagues. This one lifted to right into that breeze, and charging in is Alvarez. And that takes care of the Twins in the first. A sharp single followed by an opposite field home run from Joe Mauer. And the Twins are out in front 2-0. In the first inning, we move to the second with the Twins up 2-0. Dick Bramer, Bert Blyleven joined now, but the end of the Twins dugout by Twins closer Glenn Perkins. And Glenn, first of all, thanks for taking some time to be with us, and tell us about your spring so far and how the arm and everything else feels.
Good. I mean, I'm coming along well. I like where I'm at right now. I think 7 outings into it, and feeling good and really ready to go. I think I got 4 more outings, but be able to polish some things up, but I like where I'm at right now.
Hey, Bert here. First of all, yeah, you're throwing I was out of here yesterday, and you had a nice quick inning yesterday. There's a sharp ground ball to Trevor Plouffe for the first out. But, we were on the caravan together, and a lot of the fans were saying, hey, Perk, the last couple of years you were kind of, injured a little bit toward the end of the year. What did you do, or what can you do to prevent that this year?
Well, I mean, the first thing I did was came down here and got a lot of extra work in. I worked out with Eric Beezer, our minor league strength coordinator, all winter. And then when camp started here, have kind of picked up where I left off with Dax, who's going to be the AAA guy, but also another just knowledgeable strength coach. And Perry's been around too, our major league guy. But just doing a little bit more work than I've done in the past. And I like where I'm at so far, like the workouts, stuff that I haven't done before, but it's got me feeling good. And strengthening my back is what I started with in October, and I did that for 3 months before I started working out, and I think maybe 2 months. I guess I'm not good at math, But
you need California math, Perk.
Right, yeah, Minnesota math is maybe on par. But started with that and got a good base, and then have been working out. And like I said, I just day to day, it's something that I don't even think about. My back, the workouts become part of my routine, and like I said, I feel good. I feel, hopefully stronger than I have been in the past couple of years, and we'll see the results of that hopefully in the second half. I'll be able to stay strong and stay, in a good frame of mind and good shape, and it'll pay off as the season goes on.
Well, you saved 102 ball games over the last 3 seasons for the Twins, an all-star. I know you're looking forward to the season starting. For a reliever, okay, here we have 13 days before spring training, a big swing and miss by Scope, but are you ready for the season to start? Do you need a couple more outings?
No, yesterday, the way I've kind of approached spring the last couple of years is just to kind of go along, go with the flow, and not try to do too much, get my pitches ready, location, those things. I let a couple balls go yesterday just to see where I was at, and I was happy with what I saw. And, now it's just, I guess, more than anything is maybe just a little bit more amped up. Oh, geez. A little bit more, I'll uncork.
None of your teammates tried to protect you.
Yeah,
right
I got
there. I just
Urban.
want you to know that.
Urban right here didn't do anything.
3-time All-Star. I think we just found out why you won't win a Gold Glove.
Nope, I have no plans on doing that. Now I got this is a good teammate right here. Gibby comes in with a catcher's glove.
Yeah.
And maybe a future Gold Glover there.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, you know what? It's gone well, like I said, and just building arm strength and those things. But I think I could go and be ready to rock and roll right now.
Hey, you had a quick inning yesterday and a quick half inning here. Can you hang with us for another half?
I got you. I got nowhere to be.
All right.
Thank you.
More with Glen Perkins when we come back to Fort Myers in a moment. Try to relax, Glenn. Played 500 ball here in Grapefruit League action, 9-9-1, and they have a split squad entry today, hosting the Baltimore Orioles, 2-0 Twins. As we go to the bottom of the second inning, Oswaldo Arcia, Eduardo Escobar, and John Ryan Murphy will hit for the Twins, and we're very happy to have Glen Perkins with us down at the end of the Twins dugout.
Hey, Perk, let's talk a little bit about a bullpen. You got to like the way that they're shaping up to get to you. I mentioned last top of the inning, 102 saves over the last 3 years, but you're only as good as the guys before you, right?
Yeah, and I think that with adding Jepson last year at the deadline and then having him with us again this year is a classic Terry Ryan move, getting value last year and then extended value this year as he flicks and throws seeds at me. I just got to make a mental note here of who's doing this so I can pay him
hopefully
back
we don't have that
done.
this
but
year.
You know what? With Jep and Casey and Trevor May getting added to the pen too.
Getting photobombed by Trevor Plouffe. Yeah. That's nice.
Always wanting to get on camera.
He's jealous that Dozier won the duck face of the franchise, and now he wants to try to, hey, don't forget about me. But yeah, I think filling out the back end of the bullpen, the 6-7 spots, however many guys we're going to keep, will be interesting as we go here forward here. But it's a good pen. It's a solid pen. We're only going to be as good as our starters are. The longer they can pitch, the better we're going to be. But yeah, I mean, I like where we're at. We've got some power. We got some good arms down there, and then mix in a few more guys. It should. I think we're going to be pretty good down there. I think as a team we're going to be a lot better than people think, which is fine with us. I think it's a situation we're used to being in, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I like how we're coming along here.
Neil Allen, your pitching coach for now the second season. Your relationship with him?
Good. You know what? He's very hands-on. He's very positive, and a lot more comfortable with, I think, the staff and with his position this year than he was last year, trying to learn everybody, and even the guys that have been around, just trying to get a handle of who's who and how he can work with each guy. He's really fit in well with us.
And one more question, I guess Paul Molitor in his second year, you as a player, an all-star player, have you seen a difference between this spring and, say, last spring?
No, you know what? I mean, he's been around the game so long. I think he handled himself well and kind of just seamlessly fit in. He was obviously a coach with us for 1 year, so he kind of got a handle of things. And then, as we go into the season, with how he uses the bullpen and the bench guys and that, I think those are things that he'll get more comfortable with. I know that he had even mentioned at the end of the last year of some of the things he did with the bullpen, that he had some. There was a learning curve there, but his aptitude and his knowledge of the game are so great. I think he'll be a little bit, more on top and a little bit more improved in those areas this year.
We're looking at Brandon Kintzler, who's warming up down in the Twins bullpen. Logan Darnell with a couple innings. Strike one. Oswaldo Arce has had a difficult spring training and another strikeout for the first out of the inning. And now Eduardo Escobar, who this year, it is assumed, in a week and a half in Baltimore, here's a high fly to center field, will be the Twins' starting shortstop. Jones out there in center field. Squints makes the catch. That'll bring up John Ryan Murphy. And Glenn, I don't know whether it changes things at all in your role as a closer, but Murphy figures to do a lot of catching for the Twins this year, and I've talked with John Ryan about it from a catching standpoint. From a pitcher standpoint, what does it do to a staff to have somebody come in from outside the organization like Murphy's going to?
I mean, I think the way Kurt has worked with him and assimilating him to our pitching staff, and even just the way he's kind of taken it upon himself to learn us and to watch guys throw bullpens, to want to catch bullpens, and I know that he's stuck around a few times. I haven't thrown him a whole lot, but he'll stick around, and after games that I've pitched, ask, hey, why do you throw this, or what do you want to do in the situation like this, or I saw you do this, is that what you typically like to do? He's trying to learn as we go along, and so far so good. I mean, the couple times I've thrown to him, we've been on the same page, and he's a guy just like Kurt where in a situation, where if you want to bounce a pitch, you have confidence that he's going to block it, that he's going to get in front of it, and so you can throw those pitches. He's worked well with us so far, and I'm excited to see how he goes into the season and the mix that we use with him and Kurt.
Yeah, not only Murphy, as far as a receiver, a very well-known young receiver, only 24 years old, but also very good numbers as far as offense throughout his young career. 3 seasons with the Yankees, kind of up and down, but 267 hitters, got a little pop, not much, but more of a line drive type hitter. I
mean, the pop he showed off the hanging slider I threw him last year, I think he's pretty darn good.
I was trying to get away from that.
Yeah, he went to right center at target field. That's pop to me.
Chopper to third.
There's a pop to third.
And the Twins go down 1, 2, 3. Perk, thanks a lot. Stay healthy, and we'll see you in Baltimore.
You bet, guys. All righty.
All right. guess that's where you go with your grandkids, right? When you come,
sure do. During the summertime, if I'm not doing the games with you, Dick, I come out and watch the Miracle play and bring my grandkids out there, and they roll up and down that hill as I sit up and enjoy a beverage and watch the Miracle play.
And if you have too many, then pretty soon you're rolling down.
Rolling down the hill. Come on, Papa, let's go home.
Gorgeous day here, and we'll get a look at Kinsler now, who is warming up in the Twins bullpen. With Phil Hughes starting up in Clearwater, the Twins have turned this into their term, bullpen day. We saw Logan Darnell, who, if he pitches for the Twins this year, will probably pitch out of the bullpen, and now Kinsler gets an inning. Two
outstanding innings by Darnell, 2 shutout innings, a couple strikeouts, faced only 6 batters.
Nolan Reimold on the first pitch sends a 2-hopper to third. Plouffe with a throw across and a quick first out here in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, Kinsler, 31 years old, 6 seasons with the Brewers, up and down a couple seasons, but overall 174 relief appearances with the Brewers, a non-roster player for the Twins, signed minor league contract back in December. He's got a couple surgeries on his right elbow, right shoulder surgeries in 2006, elbow surgery in 2011. When he's on, good sinking fastball, slider, and a changeup.
And strike one called to Dariel Alvarez, who's the right fielder. Right field has been a trouble spot for the Orioles in recent years, and Alvarez getting a chance to play there today. We mentioned before Mark Trumbo might get a chance. Right now the plan would be for Chris Davis to do most of the playing at first base with Trumbo in right. And of course those two players can switch off too, but the Orioles have a lot of bats. It's where they are going to play, and it'll be interesting as the Twins are going through the ball blasted to left center field, and Quentin can't flag it down. It'll shoot by him to the wall, and Alvarez will go to second with a double. Twins have will be interested to see how Miguel Sano plays in right field. And just like the Twins, the Orioles have some issues in right field as well.
A good swing right there by Alvarez. Alvarez from Cuba, defected to the United States, or came to the United States through Mexico back in 2012.
Since you brought up Cuba, they're getting ready to play the Tampa Bay Rays against the Cuban national team down there this afternoon, not too far from here. And talking with Twins general manager Terry Ryan about the process for things like that, whether it's a major league exhibition game or maybe even a regular season game in England. I think they're going to try to play some games in England next year. And baseball sends out inquiries to the various teams and asks them if they'd be interested in doing something like this Cuba trip. And Twins said, yeah, we'd like to. And kind of a shame in one sense, because I think Tony Oliva would be embraced back in his native country if the Twins were the team going instead of the Rays.
Yeah, I know that Derek Jeter's there. Dave Winfield is there representing Major League Baseball. Joe Torre. Louis Tiant is there, former Cuban. Yeah, it would have been nice maybe if Tony had an opportunity to go. If not this year, maybe the years to come.
1-1 to Caleb Joseph. A lot of time behind the plate, as he did last year in the absence of Matt Wieters. It was about a week and a half ago when Wieters tried to make a throw to second base to throw out a Twins base runner, and he was shaking his elbow and all that. And they had an MRI, and they were very concerned about what the MRI might show, but it showed nothing of any serious nature. Just a sore elbow, according to John Russell, who's one of the coaches for the Orioles.
Yeah, when you're one of your key players, an all-star like Wieters goes down, you need somebody to step up. Joseph was that catcher last year. 100 ball games he caught. He hit only 234. Does have some pop, 11 home runs in his 3rd season. This will be for him with the Orioles.
3-2 now to the number 9 batter with Rickard on deck. Twins in front 2-0. Joe Mauer with a first inning home run to the opposite field to put the Twins on the board. And now the 3-2 from Kinsler. Tap foul. Twins catchers are expected to be Kurt Suzuki and John Ryan Murphy, who we saw hit in the bottom of the second inning.
I think what you like about Suzuki and Murphy is both these guys built about the same as far as height and how they get down to give you a good low target. Watch Murphy move right here behind the plate. Is he going in? Is he going away? Wait till the last second. A little bit outside.
Sharp single to left. Alvarez to third. He'll be held. Quentin bobbles it momentarily, but there'll be runners at first and third, with the 8 and 9 batters picking up 1-out hits against Kinsler.
Yeah, as a catcher, you can give him a good target, but you saw where that ball was, right down the heart of the plate, and a good swing by Joseph puts runners at first and third and 1 out.
Here's Rickert.
Take a look right there. Not a bad pitch down. But Joseph lining it in the left. Little bobble right there. But runners stay at first and third.
Rickert lined out quickly to Trevor Plouffe to start the ball game. Dug out of the dirt nicely by Murphy.
Nice catch right there by Murphy on the 1-hop.
Murphy looking into the dugout. Joe Vavra, Neil Allen. Kind of directing traffic in the pitching department here today. 1-0. And down low 2-0. Twins they've made 2 rounds of cuts, and it's anticipated that sometime in the next day or so they'll be making another round of cuts. Each team, the Orioles and the Twins, with 43 players, and of course you need to get down to 25 by the time the regular season starts. Swing and a miss. 2-1.
As a pitcher, what you're thinking right here, give me a ground ball. How do you get a ground ball? Keep it down in the strike zone.
The Twins' right-handed relief staff might be all but set. A couple days ago, the Twins made the decision to send Trevor May back to the bullpen. Quentin to the corner. Scoring is Alvarez. Joseph will be held at third. 3 straight hits for the Orioles against Kinsler.
And pitching about location right there to Rickert. That ball left up, and Rickert, very quick hands, lines it right down that left field corner. So he picks up an RBI on a RBI double.
And that'll bring up Manny Machado. Machado struck out on a breaking ball in the first inning against Logan Darnell. Orioles 5 wins, 12 losses, 4 ties. Again, they were winless in their first 12 games here in Florida. And off the outside corner, ball 1. Machado having a good spring.
That made the All-Star team last year for the 2nd time in his 5th season. This will be his 5th season with the Orioles. Just 23 years old.
And now ball 2.
Had a great year last year. 162 ball games. He played in every game. After the previous year, he had some knee issues that required surgery. 35 home runs last year, a career high.
And there's a strike.
He got a lot of votes in the MVP behind Josh Donaldson, who ended up winning the American League MVP. Machado came in 4th overall.
It's refreshing, and you look at the incredible talent, young talent in baseball right now. The Twins will see a lot of it. Bryce Harper in the National League. The Twins leave Fort Myers and go to D.C. to play the Nationals for a couple of games and then come back about 3 weeks later to play them in the regular season. But you've got Machado, you've got Trout, and there are so many great young players who've already had an incredible impact, and they're in their early 20s, and Machado belongs on that list. 1-1. Tap foul, and it's 1-2. And the Twins are hoping that, of course, with Sano and Buxton, that in their young early 20s, that one or both of them will have a tremendous impact in 2016.
I still like Eddie Rosario, too.
Yeah.
You look at that young man, what he was able to do when he got called up last year. And you look at the outfield for the Twins going into Baltimore right now. You have Rosario, hopefully Buxton, and Sano. I mean, two guys, as you mentioned, Dick, that weren't with the Twins at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, and none of the three of them were with the Twins on opening day. Check swing, Machado strikes out.
That's a big strikeout right there for the second out of the inning. Good fastball down, Machado unable to hold up.
And that'll bring up Adam Jones. Jones with a fly ball to left, hit it right down the left field line, and Quentin had to squint and fight the sun to make the catch, but he did. 6 up, 6 down for Logan Darnell, and now a little one-out trouble here for Kinsler. Down and away, ball 1. Talking about the bullpen for the Twins, in some minds it's a potential Achilles heel for this club, but if people stay healthy, you're looking at a bullpen of Perkins, Jepson, May, Feen. Fernando Abad has pitched well. He might be the other lefty. Tommy Malone or Ricky Nolasco, I think, will find themselves in the rotation. The other in the bullpen, and I don't know, it might be Nolasco. Nolasco's going to start tomorrow. But you know, if people stay healthy, instead of it being a debit, I think this Twins bullpen could actually be an asset. Chopper to short, cut off by Plouffe, firing across the way. Mauer catch, and the Orioles string 3 hits together, including a couple of doubles, but score just 1 run.
Hey, Twins fans, it's Ocean Spray Day.
Bottom of the third coming up. Theme nights are back in 2016. Packages include a game ticket and the exclusive giveaway item. Returning favorites feature Star Wars Night with a Plouffe Skywalker bobblehead. And new theme nights include Caru's Corner and the one I'm looking forward to, Wrestling Night, and more. You can see the full lineup at twinsbaseball.com/theme nights. I'm looking forward to Wrestling Night.
Just say Wrestling Night? Is it mud wrestling at all?
No, but I understand the broadcasters that night are going to be wearing singlets. Those little...
Oh, I can't wait.
That'll be a lot of fun. 2-1, Twins in front, and Ryan Sweeney will lead things off for the Twins. And Wright delivers ball 1.
Sweeney, a non-roster player in his first season with the Twins, signing with the Twins in December.
Excuse me, first pitch was a strike, and now ball one, 1-1. And I liken the Sweeney signing to Carlos Quentin signing in that here's a guy who's got, you know, a couple thousand major league at bats, and trying to, like Quentin, re-energize his big league career. An athlete.
Yeah, I remember when he came up with the White Sox back in 2006, spent some time with the Oakland A's, the Boston Red Sox, then the Cubs. But trying to revive his career.
Foul back.
A guy that always hit well for average, but just didn't have the pop that you would think a 6'4" guy would have. Only 23 career home runs in 9 seasons in the big leagues.
Another 1-2.
Drive type hitter. Sweeney, 31 years old, originally signed by the White Sox back in 2003.
And down and in 2-2. And what the Twins are hoping is that Sweeney and Quentin will both either make the team out of spring training or go to Rochester, get their swings in, and provide something for the Twins perhaps in the second half of the year off the bench. There's a swing and a miss and a strikeout, 1 away.
So important throughout a long season, your bench, how quality players they are. And, you know, guy goes down, you got players need day off. You need a good bench to get you to the postseason.
And I think manager would enjoy having a more veteran presence on the bench. And who knows, maybe Sweeney and Quentin will be a part of that. Here's Dozier. 1 down, a tapper to short his first time up, and that ball was not caught despite a great effort by Caleb Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph sprawled out. Thought he was Superman for a second, came up a bit short, but you're right, a great effort. Joseph tracking the ball, just ran out of room, but not afraid to get that uniform dirty.
Joseph wears the hockey mask, and I think you saw underneath just wears a cap rather than the helmet that most catchers wear. Suppose if you have the hockey mask on, you don't need the helmet underneath. Brian O'Nora giving Joseph a little extra time. Even though catchers are the best athletes on the team, there's
here we go again.
1 strike to Dozier. Check swing, 1-1. While the Twins are going to be fighting for everything they can get out of a very tough American League Central, the Orioles, of course, in the East. Dozier pops it up short center. Racing in is Jones. Going out is the second baseman Scope. And Jones with the catch, 2 away. I think the American League East, like the American League Central, could be a very balanced division. There's some people who think the Tampa Bay Rays might very well end up in the playoffs this year. You don't think so much of the Rays with the economic constraints that they deal with, but they had a good second half last year. You got the Yankees, of course, and the Red Sox. It should be better.
And the Blue Jays, who won it last year.
Yeah. Strike 1 to Mastroianni. A sharp single up the middle in his first at bat, scored on the Mauer home run. And now flip foul over the Baltimore dugout. My prediction, and of course I am not known for being a good predictor, and I can change my mind a couple dozen times.
That helps.
2 strikes to Mastroianni. Outside. I think the American League this year is going to be extremely balanced. My prediction is no team will have fewer than 70 wins, and no team will have more than 90. Where the Twins and Orioles fit in that margin of 20 wins, of course, remains to be seen. But I think all the divisions in the American League, unlike the National League, you might be have every reason to pick a team to finish first, and they may finish 5th. I think all the divisions are going to be pretty balanced. Mastroianni with another base hit. So good at bat. He fell behind, and with 2 strikes, ended up serving a sharp single to center.
Yeah, after Joe Mauer's 2-run home run in the first inning, Wright had settled down and retired 7 in a row. Mastroianni picking up his second single. And in that first inning with 1 out, Joe Mauer getting a fastball away and hitting it over the fence in left field for that 2-run home run. Gave the Twins a 2-0 lead. Orioles made 1 back in the third inning.
What we've seen from Joe this year in spring training is the ability to pull the ball with authority. And I asked him about that this morning, and he said, well, it's all part of feeling stronger. And of course, Joe's had one of the best inside-out swings the game has ever seen. But as defenses have changed and shifted Mauer to left and left center and pretty much left the right field corner wide open, that's an adjustment Joe's going to have to make. And we've seen some of that here in spring training. Granted, it's spring training, but we've seen him pull hard ground balls between the first and second baseman on the right side, and something that he just wasn't able to do much of for whatever reason last year. 2-0. Joe said the biggest reason he's having a better spring and feels better this spring is simply time away from the concussion symptoms that really struck him a couple of years ago. 2-1. He's missing the inside corner.
Oh, he showed you the defense right there. Alvarez in right field, kind of shading Joe Mauer toward right center. So a lot of room down that right field line.
Within the division, of course, we made note of it on our telecast against the Kansas City Royals. Mike Moustakas had to do just the opposite thing. He had to adjust his hitting approach from being an exclusive pull hitter to using the whole field. And Joe hopes to be able to do just the opposite, to become more of a pull hitter. He takes a walk here, and with 2 outs, Plouffe will have a chance with 2 men aboard.
Yeah, first walk for Mike Wright to go with his 3 strikeouts.
Plouffe called out on strikes his first time up. And down and away, ball 1. Of course, some players who were part of last year's success won't be back, including Torrey Hunter. Now, Torrey was an outfielder, Trevor's an infielder, but I think a lot of people are concerned that the clubhouse presence that Torrey brought, the leadership, if you will be a void, and it will be left to players like Plouffe and Dozier.
Escobar
to step up and make sure that if not the dance parties will continue, that that leadership void won't be as noticeable as it might be otherwise. 1-1 to Plouffe, and down and away 2-1. Torrey was here in camp for a couple of weeks. LaTroy Hawkins was in. A lot of guest instructors.
Yeah, it was good to see Rod Carew here.
Rod was here for, 3.5 weeks, just left a few days ago to go back to California. He'll be there for the home opening series at Target Field. Lifted to right into the wind, and Alvarez puts it away. The Twins get a couple of guys aboard after the second out, but leave them there, and it's still 2-1.
One to make your trip.
renovated Hammond Stadium, part of the CenturyLink Sports Complex. Target Field Suites are available for single game rental for groups of 16 or more, to more than 150 rather. You can enjoy a climate controlled atmosphere. That might come in handy in April, you never know. A fantastic view of the game, all the food and beverage included as well. Go to twinsbaseball.com/groups or call 800-33-TWINS. I think I could speak for you. It's just good to have the game being played again. And really looking forward to the start of the regular season.
Well, this is our first telecast. Very, very happy to be back in this seat, and always nice working with you. This is my 22nd year. You're what, 33rd?
33rd.
We're going to keep doing it until we get it right.
I think that's exactly the case. With Trumbo flipping one foul. Twins open the season in Baltimore 2 weeks from yesterday. They will leave here after their game on the 31st. Go to Washington, D.C., as we mentioned before, to play a couple of preseason games. There's a pop-up near first. And Mauer shielding his eyes, makes the catch. One away.
I think we've seen every position player with anything up in the air. That high sun here this afternoon giving all the defensive players a little bit of a battle.
I've never liked that term. The sun's in the same spot roughly every day, isn't it?
But look at it. Yeah, but no, not all the time. It depends on what time it is. Of course, the sun moves. Well, actually, the sun doesn't move. We move.
That's right.
We're moving right now.
Yeah. Just not as fast as we used to, right?
Amen.
There's J.J. Hardy. Hardy has been, of course, in the mix of shortstops over the years. We talked about Escobar, the likely opening day shortstop, and incredibly, he is on a rather long list since Christian Guzman was the opening day shortstop 6 years in a row for the Twins. The Twins have had 10 different starting opening day shortstops in the last 12 years, and Hardy is on that list for just 1 year.
Yeah, back in 2010. Had some shoulder issues last year. He spent some time on a disabled list.
1-2 to Hardy. 2-2. The only opening day shortstops to have served more than one opening day assignment over this 12-year period we spoke of. Pedro Florimon a few years ago. And Jason Bartlett, and even in Bartlett's case, there was a year in between where he didn't start at short. He was sent to the minor leagues. Here's the Twins shortstop Escobar throwing out the former Twins shortstop Hardy.
And that's what you want your shortstop to do. Just make the routine plays. You know, good, nice hop right there by Escobar, showing off his good arm across the diamond over to Mauer.
And that's the type of shortstop Hardy has been. Was hurt with the Twins, but you know, Hardy's not a spectacular guy. He, you know, won his Gold Gloves because of steady play, making the plays that Escobar just made there.
Exactly like that.
2 down, and here is Jonathan Scope. Escobar gets another chance.
And like this.
In a 3-up, 3-down inning for Kinsler. He's retired 5 in a row. The Twins still hang on to that 2-1 lead. Bert with you for Grapefruit League game between the Twins and the Orioles, our first telecast. And we're looking forward to doing a few more down here and then getting the season started, as we said, 2 weeks from yesterday in Baltimore. Twins play 3 in Baltimore, 3 in Kansas City, and then open up the home schedule at Target Field. Carlos Quentin will lead things off for the Twins. He had a fly ball to right his first time up.
That's a nice homestand, too. The White Sox, the Angels, and then the Milwaukee Brewers.
Quentin had his best years with the White Sox. Had a chance a couple of weeks ago to talk with him about some of the great rivalry games that the Twins had with the White Sox back when both teams were pretty good. Down and away, 2-0. Quentin, Arcia, and Escobar scheduled to face Wright here.
Yeah, Wright starting his 4th inning of work. Allowed 3 hits, 2 singles to Mastroianni, then the 2-run home run to Joe Mauer. That's been it.
Drilled to the left field corner. And Quentin will round first and get to second base. A leadoff double for left fielder Carlos Quentin here in the 4th.
Yeah, looked like a fastball left in, and Carlos Quentin opened up quickly and lined that ball down the left field line.
That'll bring up Oswaldo Arcia.
Twins pick up their 4th hit, their 2nd extra base hit, along with Joe Mauer's home run.
Some decisions need to be made, obviously, for every team this time of year, and a very intriguing one regarding Arcia. Arcia started the year with the Major League club last year and had a bad year going up here, and then went down to Rochester and had a worse year down there. Out of options, he did everything you'd like a prospect to do. Here's a ball drilled into the right field corner, and Arcia will get an RBI. He rounds first and heads to second, and a pair of doubles for the Twins here in the 4th inning. But Arcia is out of options, and the Twins would risk losing him to another organization if he does not make the team out of spring training. And he committed himself, lost some weight, got himself into great shape, and the results have not been there, but an encouraging at bat here.
Yeah, he had some injuries last year, the right hip strain, and you know, sometimes as a hitter, of course, your hips are so important in swinging that bat, and not with that swing right there. So back-to-back doubles give the Twin a 3-1 lead.
Here is Escobar. The fly ball to center his first time up. A year ago, the Twins, of course, were committed to having Danny Santana as their starting shortstop. Santana had excelled offensively and did fine in center field in 2014. And Santana, his natural position is shortstop, and the Twins pretty much handed the job to him. And you talk about being a good teammate and somebody handling a deflating situation well. Escobar really did that, I thought, last year. We had a chance to talk to him at Twins Fest before the 2015 season, and you know, he just said, hey, you know, whatever the manager wants me to do, I'll do, but I'd like to think that I can play shortstop well. And pretty soon the job became his when Santana struggled so mightily both in the field and at the plate. 1-1. And now a swing and a miss, but the ball going to the backstop and just barely getting in is Arcia at third base. A nice retrieve by Joseph, who barehanded the ball off the carom from the backstop and nearly threw him out of third.
Very nice play. As a catcher, you get back there and you don't know where that ball's going to head up, and ended up ricocheting right back to him. Watch that ball come back. He barehands it. Nice strong throw. But Arcia just getting under the tag at third base on the wild pitch.
Orioles bring the infield in, and a situation now for Escobar with the count 1-2, trying to get that runner in from third. Missing inside. The Twins had a terrible day at the plate yesterday in situational hitting. They had some chances against the Pirates, but didn't get much done, didn't get anything done. They were shut out yesterday. In situations like this, as you get closer to the end of spring training, become more important.
Just want contact here. In yesterday's ball game, in these situations, they had strikeouts.
A high fly to very short right field. The wind will push it even closer to the infield. No chance for Arcia to tag. He plays it a quarter of the way down the line and retreats. And now John Ryan Murphy will try to get that runner in with less than 2 out.
Of course, Murphy coming over in the Aaron Hicks trade from the New York Yankees. That's his average last year. Hit .277 for the Yankees.
There's a slider that Glenn Perkins talked about. Big 3-run home run late in the come from behind win the Yankees had against the Twins. And the infield remains in for the Orioles. Dribbled up the line and foul. You look at his minor league numbers. Murphy a .263 hitter and 1,700 at bats. 42 home runs, 225 runs batted in.
Yeah, I mentioned with the Yankees 3 different seasons, a .267 hitter. Last year you saw the .277 average. He had 3 home runs, drove in 14 runs in 67 games.
1 strike to John Ryan Murphy. 1-1. The Twins traded Aaron Hicks, who had been their starting center fielder a couple of times to start a season and then seemed to figure some things out last year. And they added another catcher by the name of Hicks, John Hicks, brought over from a waiver claim from the Seattle Mariners. In the middle of strike. And then there's Dalton Hicks, who the Twins consider a prospect in the minor league. So there's got to be a limit as to how many Hicks you can have. Yeah. So they traded Aaron and got John Ryan Murphy.
Only have 2.
I think that's the limit. And as was the case with Escobar, the challenge here for Murphy's put the ball in play, and he flips it foul to the screen.
Murphy just grew up north of here, out of Bradenton, Florida. Signed out of high school by the Yankees in 2009.
Popped up. And backpedaling is Trumbo. Scope will call him off and make the catch. 2 down, so the ball put in play, but there sits Arce at third base now with 2 down. That'll bring up Sweeney.
Designated hitter, Ryan Sweeney.
Sweeney talked about his experience, over 2,100 major league at bats, and in the big leagues a .276 career hitter. But as you said too, never showed the power you'd expect from someone as big as he is. With 2,118 big league at bats, just 23 home runs.
Yeah, he was a number 2 pick for the White Sox back in 2003 out of Xavier High School in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where he was born.
1-0 and to the screen. 1-1. You can imagine if Sweeney makes the team, goes to Rochester, plays well, and is brought up eventually, that this Twins bench could have a much more veteran presence with the likes of Quentin in camp. Sweeney, Eduardo Nunez figures to be the utility infielder. The ball hit to right center field and deep. Jones makes the catch short of the warning track, and Arce is left at third base. But a couple of doubles, the Twins another run, and after 4 it's 3-1. Left-hander Buddy Boshears is going to pitch next for the Twins. With the Twins so far patching this game together. Boshears with the 5 games in, and you can see the numbers so far. Twins figured to have at the beginning of camp an opening on the left side of the bullpen, and Boshears, Fernando Abad, who we mentioned before, has pitched awfully well, and Boshears hoping to eventually make that spot or fill that spot for the Twins.
Yeah, he came in as a non-roster player. Signed a minor league contract with the Twins over the winter. Little bit of major league experience with the Angels back in 2013, where he appeared in 25 games, all out of the bullpen.
And strike one.
Boshears not an overpowering lefty. He'll get at 92 to 93. Good curveball and a changeup.
Comes to the Twins with a lot of minor league experience. 446 minor league innings, pitched independent ball. 15 1/3 innings in the big leagues with 13 hits. Control's been a bit of an issue for him.
Yeah, went to the Rockies last year, as ended up getting released, and then played independent baseball last summer.
Down and away, and it's 1-2. Reimold, the batter, hit a bouncer to third his first time up. Down and in, 2-2.
Kind of root for kids like Boshears that don't give up. You know, he's released, but he played independent ball. Did well in the Atlantic League last year, Independent Atlantic League.
Fastball singed the inside corner, and Boshears gets a strikeout.
Yeah, good control right there of that fastball. And Murphy sitting inside, and Boshears throws it right to the glove. Perfect.
And that'll bring up Dariel Alvarez. Alvarez doubled and scored in the third inning. Drilling one to the gap in left center field. Low ball one. And up and away. Talked about the Twins bullpen and where, if someone like Boshears might fit in. Twins have had Boshears type. Caleb Thielbar for a couple of years. Ryan O'Rourke last year figures to be in the mix as well again this year. There's a strike on the outside corner. But there is a wave of hard throwing relief pitchers that the Twins will be bringing up perhaps as soon as later this year. And if you're a Boshears, Kinsler, pitchers like that, journeyman if you will, you've got to take advantage of the opportunity now, because I think if the Twins bullpen is not an asset this year, there's going to be a time in the very near future where there are going to be some very good young arms pitching out of that bullpen beyond Glenn Perkins and Trevor May. You know, some guys that Nick Birdie, who's had a really good camp here, has thrown strikes and was sent down the other day. He figures to be one of the first guys called up this year.
But you know what, Dick, even though Boshears is, 27 years old, he got released last year, went down, didn't give up on his ability, thought that, he could still maybe get to the big leagues again where he was once with the Angels. You got to really root for kids like this that don't give up and just keep battling. Yeah, good changeup right there, good location. If not for the Twins, you're showing the scouts, many scouts here, You know, hey, maybe this is a lefty that we might want in our organization.
1 strike to Joseph. Singled his first time up, was left at third base. Left side, Plouffe can't flag it down. It'll be another base hit for Caleb Joseph. A bleeder through the left side of the infield. First and second, 1 down.
Yeah, both Joseph's hit have been between third and short.
Left fielder, Joey Rickard.
So the 4th hit for the Orioles against the Twins staff so far. Joseph just fighting it off. And Trevor Plouffe just out of reach. Ball gets into left field.
That'll bring up Joey Rickard. Drove in a run with a double his last time up. Hit the ball hard his first time as well. Lining out to Plouffe. Double play grounder. Escobar. Dozier. And that takes care of that.
Pitcher's best friend.
Orioles put together a threat. Boshiers gets a ground ball double play, and it's still 3-1 Twins through 4.5.
The Minnesota Twins would like to welcome
Spring Training Baseball is brought to you by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
fans your attention, please. Now pitching for the Baltimore Orioles, number 43, Odrisamer Despaigne. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Century Ring Prison TV.
Beautiful day. They're literally... and I was going to say there's not a cloud in the sky, but I do see some clouds way down there, way over by
hanging out over
Miami. Target Field suites, of course, are something for you to take advantage of, but also the Flex Plan available at Target Field. You can choose your games and your number of seats, choose in advance, or even the day of the game. Don't plan, Flex Plan. Go to twinsbaseball.com/flex. Or call 800-33-TWINS to learn more. Beautiful day here. Twins in front, 3-1. Glad you're with us for Twins baseball, our first spring training telecast. Bert and my first spring training telecast of the year. Here's Brian Dozier facing a new Baltimore pitcher. I got a 25 cents if you can get his name right.
Otis Despaigne.
You owe me a quarter. Odrisamer Despaigne.
Odrisamer.
Yep.
Okay, Odrisamer Despaigne. I got Despaigne right.
You got that part right, but the deal was a quarter if you got it right. You didn't, so you owe me a quarter.
Okay. I'm going to be owing you a lot of money throughout the summer.
Brian Dozier will lead things off against Despaigne, and there's one to the backstop, 3-0.
Despaigne, 28 years old in his first season with the Orioles. Hard-throwing right-hander, making his 7th appearance for the Orioles this spring. Last year with the San Diego Padres. Traded over in early February to the Orioles.
And a leadoff walk to Brian Dozier.
Not always a good thing.
Center fielder, DARIN Mastroianni.
And that'll bring up DARIN Mastroianni. Mastroianni with a couple of singles today, both of them to center field. As we imagine what it would take for Mastroianni to make the team, remembering you'd like to, if you're a manager, have bench players who can do different things. One strike to Mastroianni. You would like to have someone to pinch run. Now, Eduardo Nunez has filled that role for the Twins the last couple of years. He runs well, typically doesn't start, and you have some speed on the bench. But if it breaks down, first of all, it depends a lot on how many pitchers you have. If the Twins can, as they hope to, break camp with 12 pitchers, you've got an extra bench player. Sharply hit again, bobbled by the shortstop Hardy, and they'll get one at second base, and just barely.
A good hustle by Brian Dozier, making it a very close play at second base. Mastroianni hitting this ball sharply and then bobbled by J.J. Hardy. They do get the force out at second.
3 times now that Mastroianni's put the barrel of the bat on it.
Yeah, good swing right there. Right back up the middle. J.J. Hardy fighting that little short hop. Does get the force out. But what you have in Mastroianni, too, a guy, you know, if he is on the bench, a guy that creates a lot of speed, havoc on the base paths.
So if the Twins can have 12 pitchers coming out of camp, and then you've got 5 bench players, or at least the hope is you'd have 4 bench players anyway. And one of them is going to be the backup catcher. I mean, can't have an 8-man bench, at least not until September. But Mauer, a 2-run home run to left field, and then a 4-pitch walk in the third. Ball 1.
Well, Glenn Perkins said it right in the second inning where, you know, it depends on the starters. Starters have to go deeper in the ball game. So I think Paul Molitor, Neil Allen, and the organization feel that they can leave with 12 pitchers. They don't need that extra arm out in that bullpen if the starters can get a little bit deeper. And that allows Paul Molitor that one maybe extra move late in the ball game that he can utilize an extra player.
Mauer takes up around the hands, 2-0. Talking with Joe again about this strobe light drill that hitters are using here this year for the first time to help sharpen a batter's eyesight, picking up the rotation of the ball. You know, one of the best hitters I've seen in my time in the booth was Edgar Martinez. I was talking with Joe today about what Martinez used to do. He used to have a batting machine with tennis balls, and there would be a number printed on the tennis ball. Now, the idea wasn't to swing. The idea was to identify the number on the tennis ball as it was sailing by you at 70, 75 miles per hour or whatever. And the whole idea was to track the ball and be so focused and intent on the ball as it was coming by you that you could see the number as it was spinning by you.
You know, I mentioned earlier, you know, when you were talking about Joe and the laser type,
the strobe light
type
right.
ball, that's more what you're talking about that Kansas City did in their
right.
academy, more the number, but still the same principle is there to try to pick up that ball as quick as possible once it's released.
2-2 to Mauer. And now taken low. Keep an eye on Mastroianni with 1 out. Decent chance here that he'll take off.
I think Frank White was one of the first ones to come out of that academy, and I remember talking to him many years ago about that, about the ball that they you know, almost a fluorescent type ball that they helps you with your sight as far as picking up the ball.
Mastroianni goes, and Mauer swings and misses or fouled. No, he's struck out, and Mastroianni will get a stolen base. Pitch up and away, and Joe chased what looked like it was going to be ball 4. A stolen base for Mastroianni, and now 2 down.
And there's some of that speed. Darren got a very good jump. And a pitch up in the strike zone. Getting away from Joseph. Mastroianni had a good jump.
Here's Plouffe, called out on strikes in the first, fly ball to right in the third. lifted foul toward the seats. And back behind the grassy knoll. Twins getting 2 runs in the first inning, adding a run on a pair of doubles in the fourth.
Espana, 28 years old. He from Cuba, signed by the Padres in 2014. Did some starting for the Padres the last couple years.
Talking about Alvarez from Cuba and Espana from Cuba. The hope is that this game today that the Rays are playing in Havana really just a symbolic gesture, and worth reminding everybody that, you know, Cuba is still being run by a dictator, a cruel dictatorship, and there's an awful lot of work that needs to happen on the Cuban side before truly normalized relations can be established between our country and Cuba. But the hope is on the baseball side, and there are much larger human interest issues in Cuba regarding other than baseball. But the hope is that players who've defected from Cuba and come over here will have an easier pathway to get here. Some of the stories of players out of desperation enduring what they've had to endure to just get here and pursue any lifestyle. Happens to be baseball, but it's really remarkable.
Well, the great young pitcher for the Marlins in Jose Fernandez, what he went through, actually had to jump into water to save his mother in so many attempts to get over here.
Drilled to the left field corner and deep. Plouffe has sent it out. A 2-run home run. Trevor scoring Mastroianni from second base, and it's 5-1.
Good strong swing by Trevor Plouffe. 22 home runs last year for the Twins. Got hold of one right there, a line drive home run, second 2-run home run for the Twins this afternoon. Joe Mauer in the first inning, now Trevor Plouffe here in the fifth. The chant Plouffe, you can be heard throughout the stands. Yeah, it looked like a breaking ball, kind of hung right there, and Trevor put a great swing on it.
So the leadoff walk eventually comes around to hurt Espana. And here is Carlos Quentin. Cracked the double into the left field corner. And he takes up ball 1. And down and away. 2-0. Dribbled up the line, foul. And striking first with a 2-run home run in the first inning, and now another one here in the fifth.
Nice souvenir for that young lady.
And so many families who are down here for spring training. There's a check swing. Did he go? Nope. And I think your position on kids coming down here for spring training is much the same as mine. If you miss school because you're at a baseball game, that is an excused absence.
Yeah, absolutely. He dropped the sidearm and just missed with a fastball inside. Second walk of the inning.
And that'll bring up Oswaldo Arcia. Wallace, the pitching coach, coming to the mound. I've met fans today from North and South Dakota, a lot of them from Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin. And our recommendation has been pretty consistent over the years. If you come down here once for spring training, if you finally pull the trigger and do it, there's I think a better and even chance you'll come back the next year too. This is just wonderful. If you love baseball, and what they've done to this complex, of course, has been fabulous. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the complex here before they renovated it, but now you can walk all the way around. Last year, I think I told the story about watching a game here that we weren't televising and spending an inning in 9 different locations all the way around the concourse area here, and it was just fabulous.
All the different beer stops you could make throughout.
See, now that would have been the way you've done it. 1-0 to Arcia. Drilled a double into the right field corner and scored a run. Drove in a run, I should say, in the 4th inning.
Because baseball's come so far. I mean, I signed in 1969. Of course, the Twins trained in Orlando, Florida. What a beautiful complex. Not only here, but the minor league complex, too, with the dorm that they put together. I walked in there yesterday, and I was talking to Luke Van Meel, one of the pitchers that we're hoping to pitch for, which we may see a little bit later in this ball game, the 7'1" right-hander. But watching these guys eat in that cafeteria that they have reminded me of the Army barracks that we had back in 1969.
Food's a lot different because I've walked in there too, and they have like grilled chicken, but no fried chicken. They have juices, no soft drinks. I mean, no carbonated beverages.
Now, these guys are like in shape. They're like healthy.
And check swing, 3-2.
Well, Quentin will get a running start here.
Trumbo, the first baseman, playing behind him at first base. Popped up, backing out of play. Get to this time of the year, and of course you imagine rosters, what they might look like, and who might be not on the roster. And of course, one of the options for teams is to take someone, not singling him out by any means, but someone like Arcia, who might be tradable to another organization if he doesn't fit the profile in the Twins organization. And he takes ball 4, so he's reached base a couple of times here today.
Third walk of the inning.
That'll bring up Escobar. Quentin at second, Arcia at first, and the Twins shortstop. He's hit a couple of outfield flies, one to center, one to right. See what number that was. That might be Dylan Bundy warming up down in the Baltimore bullpen. Twins in front here, and extra base pop has put them in front 5-1. And now Escobar slaps a single to left. Quentin will be held at third, and they're loaded up with 2 gone.
Good hitting right there by Escobar. A pitch away, didn't try to pull it, just took it into the opposite field. Picks up his first hit.
And
Walter on his way out.
7 men, enough here in the 5th inning to create a pitching change with Escobar reaching across and
good piece of hitting.
Making a single to left. Twins with a couple on the board here in the 5th. They're not done yet. Bases loaded, 2 down, and a pitching change for Baltimore.
Hi, I need a safe car.
Orioles, and the Twins in front right now 5-1, threatening to break it open in the 5th inning.
Do I get my quarterback if I say this pitcher's name right?
Give it a shot.
All right, Dylan Bundy.
Okay, we're even.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, Bundy, you can see making his 7th spring training appearance. Hard throwing right-hander, good curveball, changeup.
We talked about Oswaldo Arcia earlier this inning being out of options, and where would he fit in, if at all, with the Twins. And the Orioles have a similar decision to make with Dylan Bundy, who in the last 3 years has pitched just 63 innings because of Tommy John surgery, but he is out of options. The Orioles signed him to a 5-year big league contract out of high school, and he needs to either make this team or pass through waivers or dealt somewheres. Here's a ball lifted to right, and Murphy with a little chip shot caught by the right fielder Alvarez. Bundy gets the last out of the 5th, but the Twins add a couple of runs on a TREVOR PLOUFFE home run, and they lead it 5-1. Twins, and if you come down here, Twins baseball is brought to you by the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. And find your island, find warm white sand beaches, and find the moments that always end too soon but become memories forever. Visit FortMyersSanibel.com. Dick and Bert with you here in Fort Myers. Now, do you like the snow cones, or would you rather have the lemonade?
I'd go for the lemonade.
Yeah, I would too. I would too. I get too many fillings in my mouth. The snow cone would hurt, I think.
Those are called cavities, Dick.
They were cavities. There's no cavity there anymore. No. There's some torturous metal in my mouth, and if anything hot or cold touches it. Manny Machado struck out twice.
Buddy Boucher's in his 2nd inning of relief. So far, so good for basically all relievers. Darnell started. Kinsler, 2 good innings. Boucher starting his 2nd inning. Got a big double play to end the last inning.
It's the final split squad day for the Twins as the roster is pared down. Less urgency. Here's a ball drilled to right, but there for the catches. Arcia, 1 away. Back in your day, did they have split squad games?
Not as many, no.
Yeah.
Center fielder, Adam Jones.
No, I remember a lot of times if, say, I was scheduled to face like the Orioles, they would send me down to Melbourne.
Right.
To pitch down there against the minor leaguers. Now, if you had that opportunity, you just walk across the street here.
I guess the timing is okay. That I think we mentioned before, the Twins had a game canceled in Bradenton against the Pirates on Saturday, and so now you got a split squad, and you can kind of make up for some lost ground that way if you wanted to, you know, have somebody get some extra at bats. Really came in handy for the Twins, who over the weekend lost Byron Buxton, who came down with a flu bug, missed a couple of days. and then had the rain out on Saturday. The Twins are trying to condense Buxton's workload into the last week and a half here and get him as many at-bats as they can. He's up in Clearwater.
Yeah, you can take as much batting practice as you want, but it's kind of, they want to face live pitching. And the same thing for the pitchers. They don't want to throw on the side if they get rained out. They want to face a live hitter.
Tommy Malone was supposed to start Saturday in Bradenton. He came down here and on a short field over here, the short field, he threw his complement of pitches. It's not the same as pitching in a game, but you still need to get your work in. And this business of holding Phil Hughes or sending him to Clearwater and not pitch against the Orioles, who he'll face in the opening series, that's changed over the years, hasn't it? I mean, particularly earlier in your career, if it was your turn to pitch, you pitched. It didn't make any difference who it was against.
Well, I said a couple times, I remember, when I became established and you're going to be in your rotation, it didn't matter who you're going to face. They wanted to see maybe a young pitcher pitch rather than myself, and they sent me to Melbourne, Florida. They just wanted me to take that 2-hour ride with Phil Roof. Roofy and I would always go down there. Yeah, your goal is to go down there and maybe pitch 5 or 6 innings, but those minor leaguers would only allow you maybe 3 innings because they would beat me up.
That's what Phil Hughes said in his last outing. Here's Jones with comebacker to the mound. Phil Hughes pitched in a minor league game to avoid pitching against the Orioles a few days ago. And the minor leaguers were up there hacking. He had a hard time getting his work in.
Yeah, you think you have him set up for a pitch and wacky tack.
2 down here in the 6th. And big Mark Trumbo. The Orioles had a powerful lineup, 3rd in the major leagues in home runs last year, and they just added more and more power. There's a fly to short left, and Quentin waits for it. Boshears with a good inning. He has a 1-2-3-6, and the Twins still lead 5-1.
Big Auto Show savings.
We have a new left field. Number 92. Don't have one of them. Five to 1, Twins in front, bottom of the 6th inning. And Julio Bourbon is the new right fielder for Baltimore. Brian Flaherty's come in to take over at first base. Dylan Bundy's still on the mound, and he delivers strike 1 to Ryan Sweeney. Sweeney with a strikeout in the 3rd and a fly ball to center his last time up. Lifted to right, and Alvarez comes in, 1 away. I'd be surprised if the Orioles didn't include Bundy on their opening day roster because of his draft status, former #1 draft pick, and his physical situation the last few years aside. You can't risk He would not clear waivers. Let me put it that way. Someone
you don't
would
think he would?
I don't believe he.
I only say that because of the lack of innings he's had over the last.
Somebody would take him in a heartbeat. I would think. 1-0 to Dozier. 1-1. And of course, from the Orioles standpoint, they'd like to make it a mood issue. They'd like him to pitch well enough to earn a spot. But if he's in that gray area in between, then you're left almost occupying a roster spot with someone who doesn't belong there.
Right.
That's over the bag, but just foul.
And he's always been a starter. So do you put a guy that has pitched, 63 innings over the last 3-4 years or 3 years in that starting rotation? That's added pressure on that arm that he's already had surgically repaired. It's a tough decision.
And again, complicating things for the Orioles in the bigger pitching picture is the cortisone shot that Kevin Gausman had the other day because of some shoulder issues. Dozier strikes out.
Yeah, good fastball right there, and Bundy picks up his first strikeout.
Center fielder, DARIN MASTROIANNI.
2 down. That'll bring up DARIN MASTROIANNI. He's hit the ball hard 3 times, has a couple of hits. Well, the Orioles stepped into the free agent market to sign Giovanni Gallardo to help stabilize the rotation, but then you lose a guy, like Gausman, potentially. We don't know whether this is going to be a serious issue or not. The hope for the Orioles is that the shot will take care of the issue in the shoulder. But Gausman pitched 112 1/3 innings last year for the big league club. Added another 20 or so from the minor league side. And is very highly thought of. Someone they're going to be counting on down the road. 1-2 to Mastroianni. He's been a good 2-strike hitter here today. Breaking ball left up and in.
Bundy, Orioles #1 pick back in 2011, the 4th overall pick in the 2011 draft out of Oklahoma.
And you talked about the innings concern. Well, in 2015 he threw a total of 22 innings. And Mastroianni works out a walk. Got a good day at the plate for DARIN Mastroianni.
Yes. Couple singles in his first 2 at bat. He hit the ball sharply, forced out Dozier at second, ended up stealing second, and then later scored, and now draws a walk.
Bauer at the plate. Home run to left field in the first inning, a walk in the third, and then he struck out on a pitch up and away in the 5th inning. Center, and tracking the ball, fighting the wind and the sun. Catch is made by Alvarez, and the Twins are done in the 6th inning. On to the 7th. The Twins lead at 5-1.
Fans, your attention, please. The winning ticket number for the 50th
hope to win game number 10 here in Grapefruit League play. MLB.TV Premium, everything you've come to expect and more, including a new low price in 2016. You can watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams live and in true HD on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply, but visit MLB.TV if you'd like more details. Twins in front 5-1. A couple of doubles in the middle innings, a couple of 2-run home runs, and there you have it. 5 runs for the Twins. And so far, this bullpen day has been pitched well by 3 different relievers. And now in the 7th, the familiar name and face Michael Tonkin is brought into the game.
Yeah, Tonkin making his 7th relief appearance here this spring. His numbers from last year with the Twins. Hard-throwing right-hander. Control has been an issue with that sinking fastball and the slider. Tonkin at 6'7", 220. 5 stints with the Twins last year.
Parts of 3 years with the Twins. Combined 60 appearances, 53 2/3 innings. Decent opponent batting average in the big leagues at 256. 6 home runs, 53 2/3 innings. That's not bad, is it?
No.
2 strikes. And Tonkin out of option. So he needs to hopefully pitch well enough here to earn a spot in the Twins' minds. 1-2.
I think we saw it on that last pitch right there. Just, I guess, just wild at times. He just doesn't have that release point down consistently. Good slider right there. A little cut fastball. Fouled off by Hardy.
This is his 9th year of professional baseball.
Signed by the Twins, of course, his brother-in-law, Jason Kubel. I asked Michael today how Jason's doing. He said he's doing fine, just being a dad. Good pitch right there.
Called 3rd strike. The veteran Hardy is rung up by Brian O'Nora. Tonkin gets a called 3rd strike to start the 7th.
Good location of that fastball. Maybe a little cutter. Murphy does a good job of holding it.
I don't know if catchers like the term or not, but it's used anyway. That pitch was framed well by John Ryan Murphy because it looked like it was outside.
It was right on the corner. Come on.
Oh, and that fictional black that you keep talking about. 1 strike to Scope. And a breaking ball snaps over.
That's more the slider right there. Good pitch.
In the dirt, dug out by Murphy.
Michael had some save opportunities last year in AAA at 14 saves. Very good. 2-1 with a 1.10 ERA and 33 relief appearances.
And that's what the Twins are hoping that this year in 2016 he can take the extraordinary numbers. He had a AAA last year, 41 innings, just 25 hits, an opponent batting average of 174. 5 walks in those 41 innings.
That stands out to me.
And just 2 home runs.
Right.
This one popped up. Murphy might have a play here. And he has to run for it at the end. Makes the catch. 2 down. So it's hard to give up on those numbers if you're the Twins regarding Tonkin. But again, you can't, until September, you can't carry a 13-man bullpen either. Bring up Nolan Reimold. One strike.
Reimold 0 for 2, a ground out and a strikeout. His first 2 at bats.
just off the outside corner. At 95, the gun here at Hammond Stadium, I think is right on. I mean, I think it's accurate based on what I've seen from guys who are supposed to throw 89, 90, 91. That's where they've been in the games I've been to. And I think one of the things that Glenn Perkins alluded to yesterday, that he reached back and let it fly a couple of times and hit 94, 95. And when Glenn is going good, that's generally where he sits with his fastball. This one hit hard to center. And Mastroianni makes the catch. And Michael Tonkin has a good inning. A 1-2-3 7.
Fans, it's now time to stay.
This afternoon from sunny Florida, and particularly if you're down around the Winona area and southeastern Minnesota, expecting heavy snow tomorrow. Enjoy this. We'll actually be on the air again tomorrow, so you can watch it snow outside. Watch baseball on your television.
I got to ask you, in Minnesota, and we have the open, no net over the dugouts here, but in Minnesota with the nets that are going up over the dugouts, you like that?
I do, and in fact, I think it's timely you bring that up. I think they're actually today and tomorrow working on the nets around the bullpen, or excuse me, the dugout areas. Mm-hmm. I just saw over the years way too many fans get seriously hurt. If you look at the Twins hitting here in the bottom of the 7th inning. And Trevor Plouffe homered his last time up. And he'll... I
believe it's Chaz Rowe on the mound now for the Orioles, number 65.
I just saw way too many fans get hurt last year, and I know there are some fans who won't like the netting because it does obscure their viewing of the game somewhat. I think the Twins have kind of been proactive on this front, and they're trying to use thinner netting, if that makes any sense, to minimize the vision blockage. But I applaud baseball for doing it. There's a breaking ball over for a strike because of why they're doing it, which is for the safety of the fans.
Well, these ballparks now are built so close to the fans, and I think it's a great thing too.
2-2 the count to Trevor Plouffe, and a tapper towards short. Diving to his left and bobbling the ball.
It's not J.J. Hardy anymore. Number 15.
Paul Janish, the new Orioles shortstop. And Plouffe will reach, probably get credit for a hit. That'll bring up Carlos Quentin.
Yeah, Janish reaching to his left. He ends up diving for this. I don't know if he would have been able to get him if he'd been able to pop up and make a throw over to first.
Tough play, and Coincidentally, not because of it, it's worth bringing up, the Orioles have not played well in the field at all. And that was a play that Janish was able to make part of the play but not complete the play. But the Orioles have a number of concerns here as we get to the latter stages of the month of March, and how they're playing in the field is one of them. Here is Quentin. It seems to go hand in hand, doesn't it? When a team doesn't pitch well, it seems like there are complementary issues in the field, and the teams that field well generally pitch better.
They do. They're a combination. They have to be.
Lifted foul and out of play.
As a former pitcher, I was always as good as my defense. How far my outfielders could jump. How high they could get. Defense especially strong up the middle.
1-2 to Carlos Quentin. And foul back to the screen. Quentin, he hopes at least back in the American League, hopes to eventually make a contribution to the Twins team. He doesn't make the team out of spring training, goes down to Rochester. Then the Twins later on, June 1st or thereabouts, would have to make a decision to either bring him up or let him potentially sign with another team. There's a short fly ball down the left field line and a long run for Bourbon. He gets there, makes the catch, one away.
Well, Chaz Rowe on the mound here this inning for the Orioles. 29 years old, was with the Orioles last year, appeared in 36 games out of that bullpen.
L.J. Hose out in left field. And here is Oswaldo Arcia. Arcia with a strikeout in the second. There have been a run of those lately, and then a sharp double into the right field corner, driving in a run, and then drew a walk in the fifth. One strike. Checked his swing and takes ball one.
He said Hose in left field. I believe Bourbon moved to center as Adam Jones
looks like it
this afternoon is done.
And taking it inside, 2-1.
Rowe, this will be his second season with the Orioles. Pitched for the Diamondbacks and the Yankees. Good hard-breaking ball there. Former #1 pick by the Colorado Rockies back in 2005.
To the right side, off the glove of Flaherty. That's not Flaherty at first base anymore either. And Arcia will reach. The ball headed toward the hole.
Machado out as Flaherty at third now. They're moving around left and right. Here we go. Right here, hard hit ball. That little short hop hits the heel of the glove.
Jimmy Paredes is... Nope, I beg your pardon. Christian Walker is the recently identified first baseman. First and second, one down. And strike one to Escobar. Tap foul, 2 strikes.
You definitely have to do your lineup card in pencil in spring training.
Yep.
I got Flaherty, I believe, at second now.
I believe you're right.
Say that again.
2-1. Last year, of course, starting shortstop was Danny Santana. Here's Escobar hitting one pretty well in right field, but it's into the breeze. Short of the track, catch is made. Runner will advance, and on a deep fly to right field, Escobar advances Plouffe to third base. Year before last year, the starting shortstop for the Twins was Florimon. In fact, the 2 years prior. And then you got to go through the list. Jamie Carroll was the opening day shortstop in 2012. Alexi Casilla in 2011. J.J. Hardy 2010. Nick Punto in 2009. Adam Everett in 2008.
Wow.
Bartlett in 2007 and 2005. And Juan Castro in 2006.
It's funny how you see different organizations always. You mentioned, right field. Since the
Orioles, I think, had 11 different players out there last year. Up and in. Ryan Murphy's 0 for 3. Ground ball, a pop up, and a fly to right.
Well, it was a Markakis that went to Atlanta, but he held that position many years for the Orioles out in right field.
And now down and away, 3-0. Ryan Sweeney on deck. Twins with a couple of runs in the first on the Mauer opposite field home run. A couple of doubles started the fourth inning. They scored a run, and then Plouffe hit a 2-run home run in the fifth. And a 4-pitch walk, and they're loaded up now for Sweeney.
Yeah, Twins have had 8 hits in this ballgame. That is now 6 walks by my account by the pitching staff for the Orioles. Way too many base on balls.
In this inning, a single. An error charged to the first baseman Walker, and now a walk, filling him up for the number 9 batter. Sweeney 0 for 3, a strikeout, and a couple of outfield flies. Mentioned Sweeney from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, makes his home in Chicago now. And fastball, strike one. Swing and a miss. 2 strikes. With just 5 wins in the spring, a couple of them against the Twins. There's a ball laced foul.
You could almost see the timing for Sweeney, just not there. Even that fastball that rolled through by him, just a little bit tardy. And that's where you're talking about, Dick. Will he be willing to go down to AAA and just keep finding that swing? Released by the Cubs last year.
And a breaking ball snaps over the outside corner. The Twins leave him full for the second time in the game as they lead it 5-1 going to the 8th.
Well, it was Logan Darnell that, kind of set the stage. A couple shutout innings. He faced only 6 batters, did a great job. And then 3 more relievers so far have done a great job for the Twins offense. As we look at some of the strikeouts that the Twins relievers have been able to do, have been off the bat of Joe Mauer in the first inning, a 2-run home run. And then in the 5th inning, it was Trevor Plouffe with a 2-run home run, helping the Twins with that 4-run lead.
The 8th inning, Michael Tonkin out there again. Twins have gotten 2 innings of relief from apparently 4 different pitchers here, assuming Tonkin gets through the inning. Backhanded nicely. Plouffe fires across. Mauer with a stretch at the other end. It might be the first time this year we've seen, or will see, the starting infield play intact a full ball game. We've got Plouffe and Mauer still in there, and up the middle, Escobar and Dozier.
I'll tell you, a guy that has really worked on his defense over the years is Trevor Plouffe. Nice play right there, having to go to his right. Nice little backhanded play. Shows off that strong arm, a little bit high, but they do get the first out.
And a first pitch strike now to Caleb Joseph. Of course, there are fewer options if you got a split squad setup as the Twins do today, but 2 weeks it'll be expected that the starters will play the full 9 innings, obviously. Just by now, up until this point, we've seen substitutions by the 8th inning.
As the Orioles have so far in this ball game. Good slider right there, just missing.
One and 2. That's to right and retreating. Garcia makes the catch, 2 down. And that'll bring up Ryan Flaherty. Flaherty's first plate appearance. Tonkin's retired all 5 men he's been asked to pitch to. And lifted foul out of play.
Yeah, Flaherty, 3 seasons with the Orioles. Kind of a utility type player.
You know, one thing that's been nice for the Orioles, they had him in 2012 as a Rule 5 guy. He's contributed since. You know, he never took a season and had to go back to the minor leagues and kind of work his way back up. He's been a consistent force. Tonkin has 2 really good innings here in the 7th and 8th, getting a 3 up, 3 down 7th, followed by a 3 up, 3 down 8th.
A little bit of major league experience last year. 13 relief appearances for the Orioles. This is his 9th season in the Oriole organization. Signed by the Orioles in 2008. Scouting report says not an overpowering fastball, in the low 90s, slider, and a split finger. You can see him grabbing that split finger right there behind his right hip.
Brian Dozier, first ball hitting, a 2-hopper to third. Dozier with a walk and an 0 for 4 day.
Center fielder DARIN MASTROIANNI.
One down in the 8th, and that'll bring up DARIN MASTROIANNI. Mastroianni with a couple of hits, a sharply hit ground ball where he reached a fielder's choice, and he drew a walk. So he's had 4 good plate appearances here in this afternoon's game. Straight overhand delivery and a fastball, strike 1.
That might have been the splitter right there. Drake at 6'4". You mentioned Dick, straight over the top.
And in the dirt. One and 2 the count. And fastball. Yes, sir. At 93 miles per hour, swing and a miss, 2 down.
After that, over those split fingers that come in about 81, 82, then you overpower them with a good hard fastball. Drake picks up his first strikeout.
And a pinch hitter. And we will try to identify him as quickly as we can.
It says Zach Granick. Granite.
Zach Granite.
Number 96.
Okay.
Make it a long at bat. We'll look you up here. See where you're at. With the minor league system right here, you know, a lot of these young kids get an opportunity to get some major league at bats.
Zachary Thomas Granite, Seton Hall University, is heading back to the dugout after 3 pitches. 1, 2, 3, 8th inning. And the
didn't even get to talk about it much.
I got to see the Hall part. 1, 2, 3, 8th. We head to the
Best part of the game right here. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins.
It's amazing how you can not read that publicly, at least, for 6 months and then jump right in and read it as if you're in mid-season form.
I mean, what, 21 years I've been doing that thing? I think I'd get it right. Aaron Thompson taking over for the top of the 9th inning for the Twins. 5th different reliever or starter or pitcher used here this afternoon. Aaron Thompson was with the big club for a while and then sent out. So he got an opportunity to come up and pitch an inning.
Christian Walker's the batter. He'll lead off the 9th inning. Popped up short left.
Talk.
And Pratt all off of the catch, and he makes a catch for the first out.
Third baseman, Steve Tollison.
Steve Tollison, former Twins player, getting at bat here with 1 gone in the 9th inning. Aaron had a good first month and a half or so with the Twins, and then Brian O'Rourke eventually pretty much replaced Aaron Thompson in the left-handed role that Thompson held. And out of left field on a line. Grant gets another chance. 2 down.
Something to call home about right there. Forget your at-bat. Talk about your defense.
2 down. And Julio Bourbon will hit. And Thompson throwing strikes. He's already gotten a couple of quick outs. Swing and a miss, 2 strikes. And down and away a ball.
Yeah, I talked to Aaron Thompson today. He cut that beard off when he was sent down to the minor leagues. They don't allow the beards in the minor league system of the Twins, but
2 hopper to Quentin, who's now at first base.
Clean shaven, and he had a 1-2-3.
Twins bullpen asked to pitch all 9 innings, and they pitched awfully well here today with a lot of 1-2-3 innings. And the Twins ended up winning 5-1. We'll have some final thoughts from Fort Myers in a moment.
Meet the new John Deere Gator XUV.